Welcome to the Dubcast with Dubside. This is another special guest edition. I will talk to Anders and Jannie, two friends of mine who are Danish but live in Norway. And they will talk about how they got started in kayaking, a building that Anders purchased to do his kayak building workshops in, which used to be a church, an event called Stoia that takes place in Norway, a traditional kayak event, a 2-hour kayak build activity that Anders pioneered, and his week-long kayak building workshops that he's been doing for many years, and changes that they've observed in sea kayaking in general over the years. This runs a little more than 50 minutes. Okay, I have here with me Anders and Jannie. And the last, I go by first names, but technically it's Anders Thygesen and Jannie
Heegaard.
All right, Heegaard. And I've known both of you for quite some time. Starting in Denmark, I guess it was. Or you in Norway.
You came to
Denmark, I think.
You came and visited Norway first. That was when I met you first.
Yeah, at your house, the house you were in then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That must be more than 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, at least. Oh yeah.
At least.
And Jannie, some.
Oh yeah.
Some
Denmark
symposium
thing.
in Denmark.
Yeah,
It must have been also 10 years at least.
Oh yeah.
But I think that I didn't get to really know you before we started doing that things in Norway. Yeah.
So Anders, you have been building kayaks as a professional main means of income for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been my full-time job since 1996.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And I think I can assume safely that nobody can do this and get rich, and you certainly haven't, but you've made a living at it.
I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it, but
I
don't think it will ever happen. It's not that much money in traditional kayak building, but we get along. It's fine. Yeah.
And Jannie, you are trained in some other field?
Yeah, I've been working at school counseling,
okay.
and as a teacher and as a coordinator of different things in the staff level in schools.
Okay.
And had a part-time job with Anders for 6 years, 7 maybe, doing classes, rolling classes, skills, strokes classes, and hang around, sort of apprentice, learning from him when it comes to building.
So my understanding is that you first learned kayak building from Sven Ulstrup.
Yes, he was my mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe Sven for me briefly.
Well, a lot of people will say Sven is quite a character. I like him very much. I learned a lot from him, and we still work together. Right now, the three of us, Sven, Jannie, and I, are working on an umiak building project, but that's a different thing. But Sven originally learned kayaking from people in the far the north part of Greenland. He did.
Okay.
And being Danish, he also did just what I did. He took the skills home, developed them, and tried to get people in Denmark into kayak building and traditional kayak paddling.
And so what drew you to pursuing this to make a living at it?
Well, it was just that I had some very great personal experiences paddling real kayak. Mainly that actually, and then I found the build extremely interesting and getting into the whole cultural context just got it more and more interesting. So I just kept wanting to learn more, and so. Yeah. So you, in terms of I may not have had a great income, but I joke about I've been a student for 30 years, and I got a little bit pay along the way. Yeah.
All right, that's a good way to phrase it. So Jannie, how did you start kayaking?
Well, I actually tried a kayak many years ago at a school in Norway, and then I went back to Denmark and joined a club, and then I actually started Greenland kayaking through Sven, because I wrote a paper in the university, and I interviewed him, and he said, "Oh, you have to go and build with Anders." So I built my first kayak with Anders in 2004. Yeah, so that was a coincidence, you can say, that sort of got connected. So I think it's really nice that we're doing this other project together with Sven. And then I built my first paddle with Anders, and then I used it a lot. I have nothing against other kinds of paddles. It's just I ended up paddling with Greenland paddles and Aleut paddles. So
and then at some point you learned that the instructor got trained as an instructor in kayaking, and because you've taught classes there's a Danish Kayak Federation, or what is it?
Oh yeah, so you're talking about the Greenland style classes?
Whatever, because I've seen you at symposiums and you're leading classes and things.
Yes,
right?
I did. I took. I'm a level 3 coach in Denmark, and then I'm a BCU 4-star.
Okay.
And I did some education in Norway through the school I went to, the university there, in open canoeing, and and we did subboarding as well. So I kind of like all kinds of paddling. But I used to work a lot as an instructor and as an assessor and instructor trainer in Denmark. And I was involved with the Danish Canoe Federation and the organization that we met through the Sea Kayakers Kayak Corner, where arranging symposiums, and that's So I did a lot of work, a lot of teaching and coaching, which I love.
So let me skip ahead a bit. And I remember meeting you and going to your house, and you had some separate workshop place. But at some point, you bought a church. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was basically we live in a small town, and at Vestfossen in southern Norway, and at one point the church they had this old church that was 150 years old, and it was too small, and they had planned building a new one, and they didn't know what to do with the old one. So some of the guys came and asked me if I wanted to buy a church. Kind of unusual thing. Doesn't happen every day. And I just couldn't resist. I am into old stuff, and I just found it too interesting to leave it out.
And it has a tower. You dreamed of a tower.
Yeah. So it's not a huge church, but it holds you. There's the big sanctuary thing, and then there's like a steeple on one end, and there's a separate wing that has a number of rooms. There's a downstairs, that those would have been, I don't know, the Sunday school, nursery, whatever thing, all small kind of things. Yeah. But you spent some years converting things and taking out all the pews and. Yeah, it was quite a job, because it has been kind of they hadn't let it put it this way, they hadn't taken very good care of it for a long time, since the plans of the new build were like 40 years old, and in that time period they hadn't used like a single dollar maintaining the old one. So that was kind of a lot of work, and I didn't realize that when I bought it. I was just too overwhelmed with how cool it was.
yeah, I spent quite a lot of
So
time.
at this point, you have the big open, what was a sanctuary. You've got area to set up building kayaks. You got tools all along the side and some machinery, saws and things.
Yeah.
And you've got a kitchen and bathroom in there. And
Yeah, I have. And then we use it to, we invite people from a lot of Norwegians come, but basically all over the world, people will go to our place. They will stay there and build their own kayak in a week, or a paddle for a day or two, and go back home. Yeah, with it. So that's kind of the sanctuary is kind of the workshop and the classroom, whereas the other part is where we live.
Yeah. All right. Oh. So you were somewhat involved when an event that I refer to as Stoia started happening, and this was I knew some people who had connections in Norway, and they said there was an event starting that was going to be a Greenland kind of a thing. And then maybe one year they sort of started with just informally, but then the next year they made it official and they invited people. So they invited me to come. And they did that for, I think it was maybe 10 years or so. And they had me coming there every year. And you were there for many years. And you have any recollections about the early start of that?
Yeah, it's very simple. I started it, or the idea started at, I went to another kayaking event outside Bergen in west coast of Norway, and a good friend of mine, Thorleif, and I, Thorleif had a Greenland style kayak that I had built him, and we were sitting chatting. Another girl, Mia, was there, you might remember, and we were kind of having the idea that this is a great kayaking event. We did our own thing with Greenland-style paddles and Greenland-style kayaks, but wouldn't it be fun to have an exclusive event only for those interested in Greenland-style paddling? And so we hooked up with a few other people and made it happen the year after. Yeah. And so that was our first event, and I think you were at the first event.
But how about Jean?
So.
Was it Jean that got you there?
Jean was very involved.
The funny thing, and here's how small the world is, because by coincidence we got to know Jean, who was a member of this community, Kayak USA community.
Jean Mitskogen, who's married to a Norwegian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their summer place is not far from where we are. So I knew them. She was very enthusiastic. She was one of the persons who really embraced the idea and got enthusiastic about it. And also, I guess it was her idea to bring you over. Actually.
Okay. I guess it was. Yeah.
Because she wanted the her world to connect also, kind of. Yeah.
Because she made people go back and forth, I think. Because she brought me here, and you were there.
Yeah, I guess
Norway
she's also kind of a part responsible why I started coming over here to the US. Actually, that was she was good at that.
Yeah, we lost Jean. I think it was last year, wasn't it? Very sad. We had a special little circle around the campfire last year. We symbolically burned a paddle to honor our past people. So one of the big innovations at Stoia was the 2-hour kayak build. And I think that was your idea?
Partly. I can make it very short, but there was a kayak event in northern Norway that has been around for long, and they used to build cardboard kayaks at their event. Mm-hmm. And we had some of the people who were involved in that event come and help out with the first event we did. And in one of the first meetings, we discussed this, and the idea about making this cardboard kayak thing came up. And I said, cardboard, that's a good idea. Let's do it. But hey, why wouldn't we make real kayak, like skin and frame? And I kind of started to figure out how that could be done. Yeah, and it became, a great success the first time we did it. It was fun.
Yeah. So, I want to hear from you directly the rules, because it wasn't like we'll have a race and whoever wins the race wins the contest. You had a very specific set of criteria to judge.
We kind of wanted people to get to know each other, work together, stuff like that. We wanted them to craft something special, something functional, something beautiful, hopefully, and maybe even a little bit true to the original shapes of a Greenland kayak.
Okay.
So we would give them points. So we would have a winner based on a point system, and it went like you would get points for cooperation in your group, how well you kind of managed the task together as a group.
Okay.
You would get points for how well the kayak functioned once we had it on the water and tested it.
Okay.
You would get points for how good it looked. You would get points for how, if it looked like a real kayak, you would get some extra points. And we had some joker points we could hand out to whatever we thought was amusing, or innovation points. We also had that.
Special new innovation. Okay.
And then we would test them by racing them. We made a little relay race. We did. After the quality increased over a couple of years,
they got better and better year by year.
So
I remember some of the first years. One team, they would just put theirs in the water and it would just break in half and sink right away.
Yeah.
We learned.
Some couldn't be paddled, but it kind of, people figured out over the years how to make
it. So it was several strips of very long wood.
Yeah.
Like, 3 centimeters by 2 centimeters or something?
Yeah, smaller, 1.5 by 1.5, whatever that is. And
about what, 3 or 4 meters long?
They got a bunch of pretty long, like 4 or 5 meter long pieces.
Okay.
A bundle of that.
Yeah.
They would get two rolls of tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape.
Yeah.
And they would have a few simple tools. And the first
you couldn't bring your own tools to team. You had what the tools you gave.
Basically, it would be a knife you would make a kayak out of, and then we introduced a little saw and some other stuff. Yeah.
All right.
So
the teams would build the frames, and then all the teams together would help with wrapping them in the plastic wrap to put the skins on the frame. And as I recall, initially they didn't really have a cockpit, a combing, but that took so long to make. And if you want one that you're going to roll in, it's got to be really round. So then later you started.
Well, pretty soon we figured out that these kayaks were actually good enough to use. It wasn't just something to show. We could actually paddle them pretty well. So I think already next year, after the first one, I introduced cockpits, and I just bought some combings from my shop, and we put them on the cockpit so that you could fit a spray skirt or a tunic on your.
So you put that on the plastic wrap and then tape it around.
Yeah, we could actually. The plastic wrap was kind of flexible, so we could actually kind of pull it over,
like you do with
the rim, and put a few rounds of tape, and it would sit there for. Yeah.
All right. So to make the teams for this, there were various ways of dividing the teams, and I think it was North Norway versus South Norway once.
That was first, yeah.
And it was the men versus the women, and the kids had a team once.
Yeah. So it was kind of casual from who wanted to team up with who and what seemed amusing.
And there were sometimes we had 3, maybe 4 teams.
Yeah, I think we've had up to 4 teams of people. Usually we would have 3 or 4. Yeah.
And I remember one year it was raining and lots of wind, so we built for a whole day.
Yeah.
Inside, I think, and then we swapped.
Yeah.
Changed the program.
Yeah, we kind of changed the program because there's nothing else to do. The weather was too bad, so we said, okay, let's spend some more time making the frames and see what happens. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. And so you had the point category for special innovations for some, as I recall, that was some new thing, maybe not new to any kayak, but new to this sort of making kayaks in 2 hours. Something you're bringing some new idea to the whole process. So what were some of the things that won?
Well, you invented one of the things.
Yeah, that was
the
later
secret
on.
weapon,
Yeah, it was,
the skeg.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And we had the black plastic wrap.
Yeah.
Black plastic? What's that?
Well, one year you participated. We got, instead of the clear plastic wrap, we got some black plastic wrap.
So we made a black kayak. That was the one. The secret
They
weapon.
looked pretty cool.
That got Innovation Award points?
No, I don't think
that's
so.
not
And
that
I think
big a
we
deal.
stashed it with the
what I remember with the
harpoons.
Innovation Award, you got some points when you came up with making a skeg.
Yeah.
Because it
Well,
helped. to
yeah,
thread
but
the
that was
kayak
only
for better
because
travel.
after you would, to advance a little more,
Yeah.
you gave us actual pegs
Oh yeah.
and a little drill
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to put a
Yeah, that's true.
skeg
We
in
also
with
gave
pegs.
some
And we
points
built
to.
an Heegaard one year.
Yeah. So, some people would build like an Alaskan kayak. They got points for that.
Yeah.
And,
But I remember the women's team, and Jannie was
Yeah.
on that team, got the new innovation award
Yeah.
for a deck line made out of weeds
Yeah.
Yeah.
twisted together.
Yeah,
We
so
did.
that we kind of thought, okay, if you can find something on the beach or
Yeah,
and
that-
use it for something that will help the kayak build, then you could get some points for that. Yeah,
I think we won, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys were a little nice.
little biased.
We did.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it was
you made a
you
nice
or
kayak.
you and Tour Life or whoever were the judges.
Yeah, I made
Right?
sure never to be the only judge. I would
Right.
have someone with me to. Yeah.
And so
make it
if
fair.
you had a really expert kayak builder on a team, and we had some knowledgeable kayak builder, but it wouldn't always translate to 2 hours because you had to adjust to that.
Yeah.
But if one person were to just tell the rest of the team, look, just stay away, I got this, and build the whole kayak, they wouldn't get anything in the teamwork points, right? Because they
Yeah.
weren't working together.
Yeah. And I remember we did it here in the U.S. also.
Yes.
Or I kind of arranged it at an event here at Del Mar.
Yeah, right here at the Mar we did it.
And we had quite a lot of teams, and most of them consisted of naturally Americans.
Yeah.
And they would do a lot of talking like Americans do, right? And there was one team that year. There were 4 or 5 guests from Greenland that year.
5 or 6.
5 or 6. At
Because
I think-
Maligiak and John Peterson and Jens
Yeah,
Peter
that's
Jeremiasen
right.
and
Yeah.
Abel Jakobsen and
Jens
Jacob
Peter
Peter Enoksen
Yeah.
and one other guy. Four
Yeah.
were on a team.
Yeah.
And Maligiak had a team, and John Peterson had a team, and another team just had Americans on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there were 4 Greenlanders
Yeah.
who worked together.
Yeah.
And it was kind of great to see them work because there was no talking. They just did the perfect kayak who did the job for what we was going to do,
Yeah.
which was a short relay race and
Yeah.
a couple of rolls, and they just did the best kayak for that.
Yeah.
And won.
Yeah. Well, the way I think of winning that contest, I mean, you can get the most points and you win, but you really win. The real definition of winning is afterwards when we tear off the skin and burn the frames on the bonfire. There have been times when the kayak that won is just too nice to destroy, and they have to save it, and somebody might take it home. And that one that the 4 Greenlanders did, that was taken home for somebody to.
Yeah.
And in Norway one year we had a kayak that was that good. That
I
had
think
to
it
be
was
saved.
the one with the secret weapon, the skeg.
Yes,
We brought that
it was.
home.
It was.
Yeah,
Because I found
actually, it stayed at our
The year
place for a
later.
while, and I think.
But I think the next year it was taken apart, wasn't it? It didn't last.
No, it was my son Osman. He was
Yeah.
in that team. He was really good at rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
And it was his team. I don't know if any of you
I
were.
I think
around
we
his
were
team.
both in it,
Yeah, you were
actually.
both in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so your team made an excellent rolling kayak.
Thank you.
And it was
And I
so
think it
good
was the black
that
one.
Osman he was later on that event he was
Yeah.
going to participate in the rolling competition.
Oh, yeah.
And he was pretty close to actually using that kayak because he
competition.
could do all the rolls. in
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So he was happy with it, and we took
Yeah.
it home. He thought he would kind of copy it for like a real kayak.
Yeah.
But it got forgotten.
Because that year, I remember they had been getting so much better than the ones that broke in half, or the ones that just wouldn't stay upright and fall right over.
Yeah.
that all together they'd gotten much better. We looked at each other. We knew where to put the extra duct tape so you could sit on the back without having the thing break apart. And so you had added a portage race. You had to get carried on land. You had harpoon throwing. I think you had the avatak roll. And what?
A distant paddling.
A long race.
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot of things to put these frames through.
One year we would also surf them because we had conditions that allowed us to actually surf the kayaks.
Lots of tests. It was surprising how much better they got over the years. And I found it was really educational to look at when they had been finished made, but they hadn't been put in the water yet, to just speculate, well, that one looks, I think that one will do well, or look at this one and say, well, the way that looks is just something. You didn't have to really know boat building, but you've seen enough kayaks, you could just look at a kayak and say, I don't think so. Or the ones that wouldn't stay straight, that or would stay so straight you couldn't, to get the tracking just right. It's just there's just the smallest amount of change in the way the chines and gunnels relate can really affect the performance of the kayak, and it really made me appreciate how much thought is put into every little design of the shape of the kayak. Yeah,
that was fun.
So you've done kayak building workshops here at Delmarva for several years now, right?
Yeah, I think this is the third.
Yeah.
Third time? Okay. Yeah. And it takes a week.
It takes a week
to build all the kayaks. And having done that the last time, I think helping out, and this time a little bit, what surprised me was it's a lot of long hours of work. It's a week, but that's a solid 10-hour days, 12-hour days.
12.
Yeah, 12-hour.
12-hour days. Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
And it's not especially hard. It's just lots of work to have to stay at it.
And people get tired because there's a lot of stuff you try to understand, and you can't completely understand the whole picture before you actually done the whole thing. So you just need to get along doing stuff that you don't really understand. So I guess that's kind of part of the effort that makes people tired after a week like this. It's tiring to learn new stuff, stand in awkward positions, doing stuff you're not used to do for long hours. It's quite a job.
Yeah.
But
in making something that you're going to be using, there's always, for the first time, you get very timid about, like if you're making a paddle and you have to cut wood off, you can't cut wood back on. So you cut off a teeny little piece here and a teeny little piece here and a teeny little piece here, because you're scared that you're going to take off too much. And so it just adds to the time that the whole process is going to take, and things slow down. But I was especially impressed at how you ran the classes. We're all trying to get these kayaks done, and some will be slower than the others. So the people who are finished the one task first, if they can help the slow kayak together, so we all get there, like, so it's sort of community building.
Yeah, it's a kind of a team effort where we encourage and try to make people help each other the best they can. Try to.
So when people come to the church to make kayaks, are they doing it similarly, like 5 people all together, or does somebody come start a kayak and somebody comes 5 days later and starts another kayak?
No.
It's all together.
Yeah, it's all together, like we do it here. Yeah. So try to limit the time frame of the class, so it's just the week. Yeah.
Have you ever run into problems with somebody who wants to build only their kayak and not help other people? Or
no. I think generally people are good at helping out. Often people need to be reminded that this is how we do it, because people get excited about their own project, right? Which is normal. But we are there to kind of remind them that, hey, you did a good job, but there's someone over there in the corner struggling. Please.
I think it's also the capacity.
And
they
of
don't
course,
have it. They get tired, and then they don't have the extra energy to help out. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But generally, I think it's good. Yeah, people.
Yeah. And there are often a couple of people who are either super skilled or has maybe sometimes built with you before. You've had people that has been on 3 classes and maybe more, and built several different.
Yeah, it's funny. You think that people after a class they would be on their own and build their own kayaks, but very often they think about it and they kind of plan for it to build another kayak. But then, hey, it was such a great experience and a great environment to be in, and lots of prep work. We do prep work before the class, and that's kind of really just the easy way to go and get the expert advice you need for a project. So they come back.
So even if I took the class, and I have helped through the class, but taking that class and then deciding, well, I've done all that and I sort of know how it works, I should be able to go myself and do it. It would never happen in a week, because you've done all kinds of preparation to make things ready to go.
You'd need a lot more time to do it.
Like 2 weeks or a month, or it depends on...
Depends on who you are and what you have. Yeah.
How much spare time.
Yeah. And so I know that you and Sven bend your own ribs. The students do a lot of the other things, but when it comes time to steam bending the ribs, the instructor does that. And I'm told that's because if the students did it, you would just waste too much wood, because they would keep breaking some of the nice ribs.
And I would be, I'm concerned about making real good kayaks that will last for a long time. And if you look at an old kayak frame in a museum, you'll see that the ribs are often the weak spot, because they're thin, they're fragile, they're brittle, they break, they deform. So what is different in our kayak building from the original kayak building is often that the ribs are thicker, and that makes them harder to bend. So it's a harder task.
The thicker, so they'll be stronger.
Yeah. Okay. So they keep their shape over
time.
So
to be clear, the thin pieces of wood across the bottom of the kayak are bent by steaming. You put a thin piece of wood in steam, and then you bend it like they make baskets or rocking chairs or what have you, and that it'll hold that shape after you put it in steam and bend it. But it's a tricky process. You have to get the right kind of wood, the right amount of steam, and
exactly.
You have to bend it fast enough. If you pull it out and then let it sit, it won't bend. There's a timing issue there.
It's sort of the most technically difficult task in the whole build, that is bending the ribs. So it makes sense for the experienced kayak builder to actually do that part. But often we have time, and you want to try, you can try bend some, but often people realize, oops, this is I don't have the skills to do this, but would you please just continue bend my ribs for me? And it's done in an hour, and that's great.
And it's hard to find consistent wood for that. Like sometimes
no, not at all. But I'm very selective, so I do a lot of selection of the wood beforehand. So I don't take any piece of wood to make a rib into it. So I take the best of the best.
All right. The grain has to be straight through.
Yes, straight grain mainly, and it needs a certain moisture content, and it needs to be very hard.
How do you know what the moisture content is?
Well, you can touch it with your lips, and you'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what do you charge? What would a person expect to pay to make a course for a 1 week long kayak build?
The courses we do at home at the church are like what's that? $1,600, and you get to take the kayak with you home.
$1,600.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will probably be.
I think the prices will go up a little now in the near future.
How many kroners is that?
That's 16,000 kroner.
Norwegian kroner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that, coming to your church there, that includes a place to stay there?
No, not No. If you want to pitch up a tent then you can use the facilities, but we don't have like lodging for people. But we have a deal with our neighbor who will accommodate that for not too much of he doesn't charge a lot for a nice room. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. How the skin on the kayak? You use nylon or canvas or what?
I used to use canvas for many years, and now I've also found nice material. I call it the Kayak skin, and it's a mix of polyester and nylon.
Okay.
And it works pretty well, and it's much lighter than canvas, and it's less work. Yeah. So a lot of the students prefer that in front rather than canvas.
How is that better than just 100% nylon?
100% nylon, at least in our climate, which is wet and cold, nylon has a tendency to widen when it gets wet. Yeah, it's no opposite of stretching.
Shrink.
No, opposite of shrinking. It gets bigger. The fibers expand when they get wet.
The fiber, so the whole fabric.
Yeah, so the fabric gets kind of looser when it gets wet, right?
Okay. Yeah,
so you want the kayak skin to be really tight.
Okay.
And you do make it.
So it expands when it gets
it expands.
Okay.
Yeah. So
nylon expands, but polyester not so much.
Polyester doesn't expand so much. So it's a nice mix. It works well. It's super. It's as strong as the thickest canvas you can get. So a lot of people prefer that.
Does it cost more?
No, it costs the same. Yeah.
All right. So you have paddled the coast of Norway?
Yeah, I did that in 2011.
How long did that take?
That took me 73 days. And the idea was I wanted to paddle for a distance. I wanted to see the coast, and I wanted to put my traditional kayak to the test. So yeah, we planned for a long trip.
You did it in a kayak design or kayak?
Yeah, it was tempting to do it in a kayak, but they are smaller volume usually. I could of course make big volume kayak, but I'm very fond of the Aleutian. You say Aleutian?
Aleutian.
Aleutian. Heegaard or Unangan Heegaard, the traditional kayak of the southwest Alaska.
Yeah.
And I built one of those for the trip. Yeah.
All right. Did you paddle with the Aleutian paddle?
Yeah, I had to do that.
So how do you? What's your feeling on the difference? Which side you use, the flat side or the rib side?
I use both. Yeah.
So which do you use when?
Well, I find that for just cruising, easy paddling, I find the ridge side as a power side.
To the water.
To the water to function well because it tracks nicely.
Okay.
And it just makes paddling well easy. Whereas if I swap side and use the flat side as the power face, I think I can get more out of my paddling. I can paddle faster that way. Okay. But I also need to be a little more precise with my movements.
With the wrist.
Yeah, with the wrist. Huh. Yeah. So, and I tell people they can do both. There's no right and wrong. Some claim there is right and wrong, and that I don't argue with them. But I find myself that both sides can be used. So do what you like. Yeah.
So in being in Norway and building kayaks and teaching people paddling and things, and being in the U.S., what differences do you see in just how people approach paddling, or what kind of things they like to do, or just what the situation is? Is there any overall differences that you think of?
I think there is, and you can help me on this, but generally I think in Norway there is a strong tradition in touring, as a being in the outdoors, doing prolonged trips, whether it's hiking the mountains or whatever outdoor activity you want, and kayaking is so prolonged trips, camping trips in a kayak. That's a big deal in Norway. Okay. So there's a lot of the kayaking is focused around that.
Jannie, have a
I think traditions or cultures are starting to blend together. You see more Greenland paddles out in everywhere, and you see people rock hopping in Norway and rock hopping other places, and inspiration comes from all kinds of places. They come from Wales, and then, I don't know, 10 years ago, did they do that much rock hopping, or 15 years ago in Norway, or maybe it's spread out a little, I don't know. I think it blends more together. People get inspired by each other all over the world, and it's probably because social media and YouTube and GoPros are all over now. So it's very easily to get access to stuff online. You just Google. But I don't know. The way we do rolling classes is a bit different.
Yeah, how's that?
In the US, it's very typical to have mentors, loads of mentors, and then you have one-to-one coaching. And we often do. Well, we can do you do one-to-one, even though it's in a group, but we do often have 4 people in a class with one instructor, and you pair them up in a collaborative learning team, and then they work together and you instruct them. So you instruct 2 people at the same time as you do the rolling session. So but you do also do one-to-one, and then you can do this and work like this, and you instruct the other person to do what you did, and they go along working, and then you go over to another pair and work, and you go back. So the pros of what was that? That's
the advantages.
Yeah, the advantages of that is that you get a break. So while you are in the kayak rolling, you get a break because you get out of the kayak and you stand with another person as a helper, and then the helper learned things also because you communicate, you see things, the skill that the roller has just worked with, that you're helping with, you're going to do next. So there's a lot of positive synergy in that way of working, but it's just different ways of approaching. And since we don't have access to a lot of mentors because people pay for it, and you can't really pay a lot of but when you've been to Norway and we've done the rolling festival together, it has worked well. I think we just sort of do the same thing. We work with somebody and we move on, and then we swap, and then we so I think that's worked really well. So that's one difference, but and the ways the symposium are run are also different. We don't have auctions. People pay a lot more to go to symposiums, and they pay for classes, and So Stoia was a little bit different because there was a lot of volunteers involved, and I guess you guys got paid, but I was volunteering, and I just got I think I got money, sort of travel money and food and accommodation, and so. And I also think that a lot of symposiums in Denmark are still run on a voluntary basis. But there are differences, I think, but not in a bad way. I mean, it's a good thing. And you may be more committed to the Greenland style kayaking, since you have the Kayak USA, which we don't have. We have Kayak Copenhagen, but they are not. They're not.
They're not at all a parallel function like Kayak USA is.
No, they don't have. I mean,
maybe they used to be, but I don't.
Yeah, and if you go to the Kayak USA website, there's loads of stuff there, and you have the Marsik. How often does that come out?
Twice a year, maybe.
And it has been like, how many years have you been doing it? A lot.
Oh, I think that was pretty early on. They were doing that in various sizes, but that's what. 20 years or something. So
I think, definitely the Greenland style is bigger here, even though a lot of people paddle.
Have you seen in the last, 10, 15 years, sea kayaking in general, somewhat less interest overall, declining?
No, opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, opposite.
No, the interest is growing.
Yeah.
And the interest in Norway, generally, we can say that for sure. In the Greenland paddling skills is also growing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me and the places I have been, but I think that in the last 15, 20, it must be 20 now since I'm getting much older, but before you had like, okay, you were a sea kayak instructor, you were what do you call those kayaks we have in Denmark, the touring boats instructor, and you were in a river, worked on the rivers, and then today a lot of instructors work in all the areas, so you get much more skills learning, skills transfer, and I think it blends more together. And if you often find people who are instructors in various vessels, working at the same time. I don't. But there are still strict rules about you don't see the Greenland style, the Greenland paddles, other places than with the sea kayak. It's
Where else would you see them?
I don't know Nordic kayaks. Do you call them the ones you compete in?
Racing
Kayaks, but you get a variety of that. And surf skis, you don't see Greenland paddles there. There you would see wing paddles.
But a friend of mine from England just told me that our kayak surf championship, one of the, I think he came in third. He actually did it with the Greenland paddle, and that was something. Yeah. He went and just watched the competition. He found that amusing that there was a Greenland paddle among the competitors. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of. I think the skill level increases in general because people take classes and paddle more, and you have what you call Jeff Allen's system, the ISKA guides. So you have, lots of people take the BCU, and then they take the Norwegian, and then they take Danish, and they take classes all over. So
do the people you see involved in sea kayaking, are they roughly the same age demographic in this country as in Denmark or Norway, or one younger, older than the other a little bit, or?
We see a lot of gray hair in sea kayaking, absolutely, yeah. But there are also younger people, but you don't see a lot of sea kayakers that haven't passed like 30 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I guess it's an expensive sport, or for some it is.
Yeah,
because
it's
the
not
kayaks
like
are expensive. You need a lot of gear.
It's not a sport for the student or the
dry
single
suits.
parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a house, you need a car, you need some stuff. Well, sea kayaking was actually really big in Norway in the 30s.
Okay.
1930s. And from like reading between the lines of those old books.
Were they using what, canvas covered?
They would use
folding kayaks?
No folding kayaks, canvas covered, wooden frame kayaks.
Okay.
Yeah, so they had their own like Scandinavian designs. But they did touring, they did rolling, they did surfing, they did all kinds of the same activities as we see today. But it's kind of it's gone and forgot. But
I understand in Norway there's a history going quite a ways back of hunting seals.
Oh yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's true. There's been commercial seal hunting for way back. Yeah.
But not from a kayak, but
no,
but
from a fishing boat
Yeah.
that would go to Greenland.
East Greenland?
Northeast Greenland.
Yeah.
In the ice there, where there's seals. So they would go. Until recently, they still did that.
Yeah.
And occasionally there are still people who go there and hunt seals. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to be back here next year at Delmarva, and I hope you'll be here too.
Yeah, we hope to be here.
And I may see you in Norway.
We hope to see you in Norway also. We've kind of missed you. You haven't been around since.
Yeah, we have big guitar.
I got to get through COVID yet.
Yeah. We don't know what happens yet. We'll see. There are things.
Yeah, we don't know for certain from year to year, but there's a good chance we'll come over and
Yeah. And there you have Anders Thygesen and his partner Jannie Heegaard, interviewed October 8th at the Delmarva Paddlers Retreat 2023. Anders' website is Kayak Specialisten. That's spelled KAJAKKSPESIALISTEN. Kayakspecialisten.no for Norway. Thank you for listening to the Dubcast with Dubside.